Man, y'all know the face, y'all know the name. You're tuned into the World's Realest Podcast, Talk Ain't Cheap Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Mr. Zamui Cleese Talk. And I got a special guest here with me. In traditional Talk Ain't Cheap fashion, I do not introduce my guest. I feel like it's real lackluster. It's not a vibe. So guest, please introduce yourself.
My name is Kofi, data scientist currently. I also work in client engagement. Me and Cletus went to college together, and it's really nice to reconnect and start this pod.
Yeah, bro, we came a long way, bro.
Yeah. What's it been, like 5 years since I seen you?
Yeah, I graduated 2017. I was supposed to graduate 2016, so it has been, seven years. Damn. This time is flying, and I'm not realizing how fast time is flying.
It feels like 2017 was yesterday, bro. Like, literally, I feel like summer 16 was the best summer, and then that was like, 8 years ago? And I still remember.
Summer 16 was one of those ones.
Yeah.
Summer 16 was one of those ones. Dang, bro. So what's been going on? How you been?
I've been good, bro. Honestly, I got my master's after, I graduated 2018. And it's been really an interesting experience because I was supposed to go to med school, right? And I kind of transferred into something that would be more relaxed for me. I feel like med school would have took over my life. Like, doctors work long hours, divorce rates are high, and everything like that. Like, I don't think that would have been something that would have been beneficial for me. So I got into a field that was more, relaxed for me, and I got into data. And I'm currently a data scientist right now, going into client engagement management and everything.
So what is that for those who may not know? What is data science and client engagement management?
All right, so after I finished my master's, I worked as a data scientist, and what that is manipulating data so you can analyze it and get results. The type of data that I worked with was healthcare data. So when you go to the hospital, you get a checkup, all that information that they get from you is what they call patient ID. So they take your patient ID and that's transferable into a database. What I do is grab all the patients that fit a certain criteria or like certain population. Say, for example, if someone has like COPD or like a chronic disease, we'll pick maybe 1 million patients that have that and kind of break it down and analyze that demographic and just find out different results and information about them that we wouldn't have known, and that's used to develop new medicines, right? So that was mostly what I did for the first 2 years outside of grad school, but right now I'm more into the client engagement phase where I'm actually talking to our clients and dealing with more of the monetary things, right? As making sure that they're comfortable with the products that we produce and they're comfortable with the work that my team will do. So I'm also allocating work to different stakeholders meaning different teams like the science team, analytics team, and I'm reporting back to the client to make sure that everything is going according to plan.
Do you like what you do?
Honestly, now I do, right? I feel like being a data scientist, it was more technical, but now I'm more comfortable because I like talking to people, right? Like I feel like ever since I was a kid, I'm always chatting with everybody. Like, it doesn't matter if you the janitor, if you the CEO, I'm talking to you the same. Like, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you respectfully, and I understand like you have a position and you earn that, but I'm talking to you like a human, right? So I've always loved that. So I think that moving into client engagement, I'm gonna exercise that muscle, and it's something I already enjoy. I'm talking to clients and like we're laughing when we're talking about serious things, but we're getting our work done, right? But I also know about their kids now, and they know about my life a little bit, but it's not to a place where it crosses the line, but it also builds that rapport, right? And I can translate that into my regular life because eventually I want to go into entrepreneurship and building relationships and rapport with business partners.
Very dope. So speaking about your life, you have a life coach.
I do have a life coach.
So what made you want to get a life coach?
Honestly, I was watching this video on YouTube, like 4 a.m. you get into this like YouTube rabbit hole. And he said, sometimes you got to pay to win. And I was like, I don't want to pay for everything. I feel like I'm on YouTube to not pay for anything, right?
Facts. We are not balling.
We are not balling, So I was like, let me see what I can do in terms of just figuring out what to pay for. And I thought that I didn't have my life together. Like, even if a lot of people tell me, oh, Kofi, you look like you have your life together. But most people that look like they have their life together probably don't, and
it's very true.
And they're probably like procrastinating and moving around and not getting things done. But to the outside world, they're getting it done, right? And you have to pull a lot of strings to get things done on at a good deadline. But for me personally, I wanted someone to tell me exactly what to do, right? And they say that if you want to be successful, pick one person and model after them, and then pick the next person and then model after that. So it's almost like playing basketball. You know, like if your favorite player is D Wade, but you also like LeBron, you taking moves from each player. You like Kobe, you doing the fadeaway too. So it's like you're building your package for your way to become your own player and be successful, right? And I was looking for a life coach. I was on LinkedIn. I couldn't really find anybody. I really wanted a black man as a life coach because I felt like he would understand, where I'm coming from. And also like African man, right? Because I come from a Christian background. I want someone that also comes from a Christian background that's African that would understand the nuances of, taking care of family and also trying to build the next generation up, right? But also keeping individualism as an African man, because that's really hard, right? Like our parents, especially if you immigrated here, our parents strive and worked hard for us to be in the same position or this position that we're in, and it's like you almost feel bad for saying no, or you feel bad for taking interest in your career and striving, and you thinking about leaving them home and not really attending to them. But this is the position they put you in to be able to succeed. So it's kind of bittersweet, right? And I want someone to understand that from my perspective, and that can talk me through it, and I can understand how they got through that, and now that they're at somewhere that's successful, and how they give back, right? And not necessarily think too much, but also organize their life, and also financially. I feel like at a point I was not financially sound, and organizing my finances right. I feel like when you're growing up, no one really teaches you that. They don't teach you that in school. And you might get lucky. Someone might just sit you down and be like, hey, this is what you do. And or you might find a video that helps you. You might go on TikTok or whatever the case, YouTube. I didn't have that luxury. So I ended up finding a life coach, which was a black woman, right? And there were a lot of life coaches that were black women and not a lot of black men. So I decided to sit on a session, right? I saw this Nigerian black woman. Her name was Isi. And she is a career coach. She helps people get like 6-figure jobs and kind of go into entrepreneurship. And she was having like a 5-day series, right? So for a week, you would log in for an hour, and she would talk about her program and how you would get involved, but also giving some gems for free, right? And I sat there every day, only guy on the call, because she really tailors to black women, right? And she would call me on the stage and like let me talk because she saw that I was interested. And I would, even if I had a meeting at my job, I'll put the meeting on the side. I'm listening to her, right? Because I think that information is valuable. But unfortunately, she said she only takes on black women as clients, right? And I asked, I was like, hey, do you know anyone that would be a black man that would want to take me on? And she said, well, my husband does the same type of work. And I'm like, bingo, like, amazing. Can you connect me? I hit him up. 2 weeks later, he didn't hit me up back. I'm like, damn, like my only chance to find a black man to life coach me, and he didn't hit me back. So I told EC, and I guess she probably talked to him and like, yo, what's up? Like, he's been waiting on you. And then he connected with me, and it's been great. Like, I pay him, right? So he says he's my life coach and not a mentor. I still think he's my mentor, but the differentiation is that I pay him, right? So then that is where the coaching comes in. And he's valuable. Like, he teaches me everything from finances to how to deal with life situations to how to organize my career and how to talk and negotiate and mediate myself and control, my prejudices and how I feel, my emotions, right? And to be successful in the type of environments that I should be aspiring to get into, right? And he's teaching me about social clubs. He's teaching me about networking. He's teaching me about how to get better at communicating, and like how to develop skills. And you should be doing that one at a time, right? Not trying to be a master of none, where you should be honing in on what you're actually good at, So he's really elevating me. It's almost, if you think about it, it's like if you play a video game and they have certain attributes, he's saying focus on, the ones that you're really good at. If you're playing a video game, there might be like someone that's really good at healing, somebody that is really strong, or like, really good at attacking, so focus more on that and be a specialist in what you're really good at, and then the other skills can come, right? And you work on that. And the most successful people are really good at one thing, and then they branch off into different businesses. Like, For example, Kevin Durant, great basketball player, but also a great investor, right? So then he used his kind of almost like chess-like mind in basketball to move into investments, and he's very involved in his investments. So it is very much how can you leverage your skill into different aspects. And I know I'm probably rambling a little bit, but yeah, man. So it's really been a journey. Life coach, I'm paying for him, but I think he's going to be a lifelong friend. Like once we get to a spot where he's no longer my life coach and he's just a friend, still see him as a friend. He actually came to New York and we went to dinner. Like we were just hanging out, chatting, and got a couple of drinks, and we had fun, like laughing and stuff. And it was an invaluable situation where I was like, whoa, like this is something I would have never thought I'll be. It's almost like a uncle or a dad, right? And it was so natural how we became, or how we became so, close, right? And it was just easy. And that's what I wanted. And that's why I was very specific about the type of person I wanted, because I knew he would understand me. And it felt really good to have someone that's been through the journey and can tell me where I can avoid, right? I'm not tripping over certain things. I'm going into just to be successful. And also one thing I had a problem with was like image, right? I feel like a lot of black men growing up aren't taught to focus on their image and dress nice for interviews or dress nice for a certain room. They just try to figure it out. But he's teaching me like image matters, the way you speak matters, the way you carry yourself. And it's not that I didn't know these things, but he's just teaching me cheat codes that, speed it up for me a little bit, and that's the point. And it's paying to win, right? You're learning things at a faster rate than most people, but the investment in that is invaluable. You're going to make it, it's going to times 10, right? You're making an investment for now, so you're paying whatever to multiply it in the future.
So what are three things that, if you could say like the three top things that you learned from your life coach, what are those three things?
So patience. So he taught me a lot of patience. Like he says, don't just rush into anything, really think about it and before you make your decision, and that goes into if you're looking for a job, if they throw you a big amount of money, honestly think about it. Another opportunity will pop up. Usually that's how it happens. Once you break the seal with one opportunity, they just start trickling down. It's like when you get a girlfriend, all these girls start pulling up on you. It's like
that is a fact.
So it's really like that. So then if you think about it, it's really a good key to just kind of manifest that. And once you get comfortable, just like saying no, like, oh, that's a great deal, but there's probably a better one, right? It's thinking about money up front versus equity, right? You get $100,000 or 10% of the company. I'm taking that 10%, right? And you would have missed out on that and probably not gotten as much money in the future because you didn't invest. You wanted that upfront gratification rather than investing in your future, right? So he really taught me the value of patience. A second thing he taught me was to really hone my skill set, kind of like what I've already said, but in a sense of focusing on learning from people, right? And also being selfless, having something that is valuable that you can give other people. Don't just go in and network and thinking that they're supposed to help you. They don't know you. Like you're just coming in and telling them what to do. That's not how humans work. From the inception of human, we've been trading, right? And that's how currency was made, and that's how we live life. So it's really like a trade. How can I help you? How can you help me? But you should be more valuable in that situation because that person is more valuable for you, So if you can offer value that's so far thinking of what that person thought he would need, right? So for example, if you come into a pizza shop and you say, hey, I want to work here, don't pay me, I just want to learn about the pizza business. That's a free employee. You come in 40 hours a week. He doesn't have to pay you. You're getting the knowledge though. And then you can open your pizza business and then you can multiply times 10 because you know the ins and outs, but now you know where not to step on and where you can avoid those landmines and succeed more, right? So bringing that value and not expecting some type of incentive for what you're doing. It's more like finding your own internships, right? And a lot of people will say you need to be paid for internships. nah, I don't always agree with that. Certain ones, yes, but it's really an investment and I think of it more as an apprenticeship, right? And you just being there. If you're say if you're a plumber, you have to watch the other plumber do the work so you can learn it. It's a rite of passage. You're not just going to learn it and get paid for it. It's not realistic, and people just have to grind, and they don't understand that grind. Um, and I think the last thing is finances. You got to have your finances on point, like credit on everything, right? Because you want to make every move. Especially if you're making business moves, you want to be able to apply for credit for a business loan. You want to be able to invest on the side and double your money. You want to be able to make any move, right? You want to be able to get on a flight and go talk to somebody about business. You want to be able to pull up $50,000 and be like, oh, let's invest, and talk to your friends that are also investing. So it's really when you want to, how you want to get to that point of getting money is really on you, and you can't be lazy about it. You can't just let it fly. You really have to be focused and know where your money is going. And that's what he really taught me. Focus on your money, understand where your money is going. Don't just don't spoil it. Watch every dollar. Most rich people watch every dollar, and the people that are rich that don't watch every dollar are just having fun, right? Warren Buffett knows where every dollar is going for him. Jeff Bezos, everyone knows where that. Like if you're really successful and you continue to be successful, they know where those dollars are going. But if you're not trying to get to that point of success and you're just trying to have fun at the end of the day, you won't really succeed. It's hard work until you get to the point where you can, have leisure. But even the most hardworking people never stop. You might call it a workaholic, but, they're trying to build something for the next generation that has never been heard of.
So why a life coach and not a therapist?
I have both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have both. Actually, I've been in therapy for the last 5 years. And what got me into that is that I felt like there was something in me that I didn't understand, and I couldn't explain. I didn't have the words. I didn't have the vocabulary, right? And one of the first therapy sessions, she actually gave me a word wheel. So you start in the middle, and it's like color coded, and it talks about the different words, and it branches off into more words. So say if you feel sad, and it goes into, oh, you're irritated, and then you're disappointed. Like, so you just connect the words and you're figuring out how you really feel rather than, oh, I'm just angry, right? You don't bunch it into one place. You're actually figuring out how you really feel, Or say if you're happy, you're excited, you're grateful, and you figure out what you really feel rather than just saying, oh, I feel good, And it's been really helpful. 5 years of therapy, actually, that's kind of crazy, to think about it. I've been in therapy for 5 years, and I'm still in therapy. It's been a journey. I think that everybody should have a therapist for probably the rest of their life. It's almost like someone to teach you how to manage your feelings, right? And that's invaluable. They just hold you accountable. They make sure that you get the emotional work done. It's hard. They tell it to your face how real it is, and I know sometimes I don't like it, right? But my therapists have usually been women and black women as well. I think that having a therapist that's from where you're from or looks like you is very helpful because she understands exactly what I'm talking about. As when I had someone that was from a different race, she would have me explain my culture. And that's really hard to explain if you haven't lived that lifestyle. And if I'm explaining a situation to you, you may not understand the nuances that have to do with my culture, so you may not even think it's a problem. You might just say, hey, just calm down, don't talk to that person. That's not how it works. There's different levels of respect codes when it comes to different cultures, right? And you move different ways. So I think that getting a therapist that's culturally competent in your culture is very helpful, right? And my life coach is still more like a therapist, right? And I think that the way I live like a life student, right? And I'm always learning from everybody. When I'm talking to someone, I want to learn from them. And I learn to stop talking as much and just listening. Because you'll learn the most nuanced life things. Like, lessons are everywhere. So I just think that I don't put labels on people anymore. I just see them for who they are, and I'm really a seeker. I like to figure out new information. One of my goals is really to travel the world eventually and just find out information and learn for myself about what really happens, And I think that living in one country, you get one side of the story, right? And I'm very interested in all sides.
That's fire. That's dope.
Thank you, thank you.
So, have you found your purpose, and what has the process been like? Through navigating life coaching and therapy to figure out what your purpose is now.
So I think my purpose is to spread knowledge. Um, I think that I'm more of, I wouldn't say I'm myself, I wouldn't call myself a philosopher, right? But I love philosophy, and I love to learn. But I think that once you have knowledge, you should spread it, right? And I think that I'm learning a lot about myself and unlocking positivity. And I think that that should be shared, especially amongst people from my community and also different communities, because I think that people are lost in emotions. They said that around this time it is a loneliness epidemic, and people are just like to themselves. How can you learn about yourself? How can you learn about other people if you have no one telling you about yourself or you have no one to reflect on? And it really bottles us up, and it keeps us in a one track mind. Whereas if you have an expansive mind, you'll be good everywhere. You'll be a global citizen. You'll be comfortable everywhere. You'll have the knowledge to pass down to your children. Knowledge is power. The oldest thing that can be attributed to knowledge is like fairy tales, right? Like, or stories that are passed down. Everybody gathers around a campfire and you learning something from one of the elders, or like somebody that has more knowledge than you. And people write books are the most biggest sold things ever in life. The Bible, the Quran, those types of things, because they're passing down knowledge, right? And I think that forever knowledge should be shared, and that's how humans advance. Like, for example, AI, based on all our knowledge, like it's analyzing all our knowledge and giving it back to us. It's regurgitating it back to us. So everything will always be based on the mind.
That's dope. I like how you think, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, you have a podcast
Yes, I
called
do.
The Modern Stoic Talks.
Yes.
And I wanted to get into what Stoicism is. So what is Stoicism?
So Stoicism, I think Stoicism gets a bad rep because it's often associated with not having emotion, or just being oneself, like just not having any inclination in your voice, just monotone, just isolated from people, just thinking to themselves, just being alone in a house and just being a philosopher, and just eventually coming on and releasing a book. But no, for real, it's like, oh, okay, like this is the best. What is it, Marcus Aurelius? Like,
Yeah.
he's the most famous Stoic, and he releases or he released so many books, or scriptures and everything. But he actually was one of the most influential people in the world. He knew most of the leaders in the world, so he wasn't someone that kept himself at all. He was actually someone that they wanted him to be in leadership, but he was more of an advisor to a lot of leaders, right? And they recognize his intellect, and that's what Stoicism is. It's like sharing knowledge, as I mentioned before, but also being able to regulate your emotions. So it teaches you how to learn how to basically endure the hardest things in your life without reacting, and with their reaction, if you react, let me pause real quick. It teaches you how to calm your emotions in a place where everything is burning, right? Or, for example, if you're sad, if you're grieving, it will teach you how to harness that and kind of bounce back from that. Or if you're hurt, or if you're angry, it will teach you to moderate that and kind of still think straight. When you're angry, you don't think straight, right? So it's more of an advantage. How can I keep a still and solid mind through any adversity, right? And that also translate into a strong mind, a strong body, a strong soul. So when you're able to attach yourself from your emotions, but you can still feel emotions, you're still a normal person, but you can understand yourself, and you can hone your abilities to do things. You can translate that anger into lifting weights. You can translate that sadness into positivity, helping people, being, someone of the people, serving, so you're translating that energy and that negativity into something that's positive. Something for Stoicism is living a virtuous life, right? Not doing wrong, or always doing positive things, and making sure everyone around you is receiving something, and being a servant to the people. And one of my favorite quotes or things that or words that I live by is see no evil, hear no evil, do no evil, hear no evil, right? And that's what I strive to do. I try to extinguish any negativity or type of evilness from my life, and I'm really trying to live a life of virtue because Stoicism is teaching me that, right? And I consider myself a modern Stoic because I'm not wearing a robe. I'm not walking around with a robe and taking a voyage everywhere and wearing sandals, but more in this technological era, I'm trying to navigate that and see how that would fit now. And I think that it's been helpful. I think that growing up, I was someone that was more of a positive person, and I got to the space where I was, my emotions weren't regulated. I was angry all the time. I was irritable, and now I'm at a place where I can see when I'm getting angry. I can see when I'm getting irritable, and just breathe. Right. Before I got here, I was listening to a video. Have you ever heard of the Diary of CEO?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to one of his interviews, and have you heard of Wim Hof?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was listening to his interview. Diary CEO is basically having very interesting people or very nuanced people come to a podcast and talking about very controversial things or just cool techniques to get through life. And this guy named Wim Hof, he embraces the cold. So this guy literally jumps into water with icebergs that's like the coldest, and he's fine. Like he can breathe through it and swim through it. And that technique actually helps him heal his own body, right? So he always says that your body can heal itself through intense exercises. So what he means by that, if you put yourself in a cold plunge or if you put yourself in cold water, your body has this immune response that can heal you, that can help you burn fat, that can sharpen your mind. Because going back into our primal instincts, that's how we used to live, right? And that's how we used to kind of go through life in a place where we didn't have technology. So he's really reverting back into what humans have been attributed to in the past, and also connecting with spirituality in general, because he feels like there's more to our human, and there's something that is greater, almost like obviously a higher being like God, and there's more to our abilities that we're actually aware of.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the ultimate man? Like when you have to break down from Stoicism and all these different lessons that you've learned, what would you say would make the ultimate man?
So, I would say the ultimate man would be someone that is healthy, and what I mean health. When I say healthy, I mean physically clean. So they know what their body needs, how to, regulate their skin, their processes, their digestion, their gut health. Someone that is solid in and has a fortified mind, right? That often doesn't get bothered by anything. They have emotions, they cry, but they are angry or sad. They can express that, but their mind is so fortified that they don't express it in a way that is detrimental to them, right? They actually turn it around and use it to their success. And I think that if you're thinking about war, the people that keep their temperate they can think straight, and they usually win, unless you did just have more resources than you. If you're thinking strategically, the one that can keep a straight mind usually wins. But I do think that the perfect man is someone that has both that strength in oneself, but also that sharpness in mind.
Okay. How do you go through staying mindful in trying times?
Staying, so that's a good question. I think I really lean on my friends. Like I've been being a bit more open. Like when people ask you how you doing, I've been real. Like I'm not doing too good. Or I'll say, yo, like I was feeling sad last week, but I'm good now, right? And it's really been changing up my conversations with people, right? And it's been giving me examples of trials and tribulations that they had. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you were going through the same thing. And now we can have a conversation and help each other out, right? And it helps me understand like I have a support system. But then I also have to do the individual works. For example, like I started meditating, I started praying a lot more every day. I pray, and practicing my religion. So it's really been helping me get that gratitude, but also staying present. And I'm getting into journaling, writing about my life and everything. So it's really a practice of discipline. I try to remind myself why I'm doing something. So why do I get up for work? Even if I want to roll out of bed, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to, you know, further my family and to transfer to the next generation and those things, right? And that pumps me up. That gets me excited. It's like, nah, I can't waste time. I got to get up right now. So it's really helping me think about the things that are important to me. And obviously, I procrastinate. Everyone does, but it really just it's an extra kick, for me to move forward.
So how have you been handling highs and lows?
Uh, that's very interesting because the highs, I don't experience them. Like I feel like a lot of people want to celebrate me, and I'm just like I'm not done yet. And I really am bad at taking compliments. Like I am terrible. So if I do something that's considered a high, I'm like, what's next? I just don't. I don't sit in the moment. I'm very bad at that. I'm trying to learn how to be present in that moment of just saying, yeah, I did something good. I achieved a certain goal. I'm just like, let's go. Like, what's next? It just for me, it's almost like I haven't reached the goal I really want to get to. So I'm not resting. I'm not happy.
So what is that goal that you want to get to?
So I think that I want to get to a place where I can help people achieve their own dreams, right? I want to be able to, be a philanthropist and be investing everywhere, but also knowing that I'm investing in people's future. And to get there, money is power. So I would have to get to a spot where I'm financially stable and I can translate that to and most generations, not just mine. I don't think that nepotism should stop at your bloodline. It should continue out your network and your network's network, and it should be transferred everywhere. And I think that we have the wrong mindset of keeping it within the family all the time because we're really all family on this earth, right? Like we all live on this earth together. And I think that it's a good mindset, but obviously there's prejudice and divides against different cultures. So it's really tough to penetrate. So I think that really developing something that would have me in different spots around the world, but also developing countries, helping them get back on their feet. I know that people really look down upon like the Bill, was it Melinda? Yeah, Foundation, but they really helped a lot of countries. They send money everywhere, right? And this is something I want to do. Maybe not exactly how they move, but it's something that I want to start. Definitely want to make some type of not UN, but very close, or maybe partner with them to, spread the wealth in terms of knowledge and actual, monetary things.
And how do you handle pressure?
Oof. I feel like when my back is against the wall is when I shine. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do fail sometimes. I'm not someone that's perfect, but I feel like I'm not gonna lie. Growing up in the Bronx, like you got to handle the pressure. Like if you see somebody and they trying to, run up on you, you can't be scared. You got to show them like, yo, I'll fight back. And it's just you learn early on that it's a dog eat dog world, and you can be scared when you go home, like, but you can't. You got to put on that mask when you're outside. So it's really just going into that character you want to be at that point, right? So if I go into a meeting, I'm thinking if I was a great manager, or if I'm a great client engagement manager, what would I be saying, or how would I be acting? So then I get into that character role, and it's like kind of method acting, right? It's like I'm here now, and I'm being assertive but respectful. I am telling you the results, but I'm also letting you be heard, and just being a good mediator, but really stepping into that. If I'm going into like a wedding, right? How can I be the best guest? How can I be the best man, like those kind of things. So really thinking about that role and stepping into it.
And and a lot of this stuff, a lot of my questions are coming from the podcast. I don't know if you noticed that.
No.
All right, good. We get into it. But you also spoke about the importance of having a private life.
Yeah.
How have you been able to navigate having a private life?
So, what's funny is that a lot of people see me as someone that likes to be outside or extroverted, but I'm actually the complete opposite. Like, I don't want people to know anything about my life. I would rather be inside watching Netflix in a blanket rather than be outside networking. To be honest, I feel like that's my safe haven, right? Like, I'll be home just like hanging out, you know. But being extrovert is a skill, right? And you have to be able to exercise that skill, being able to talk to people. So it's something I had to develop. I do think that, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the question.
Handling a private life.
Oh yeah, handling a private life. I'm like scatterbrained right now. But handling a private life, I don't tell people unless they ask, right? I'm not really good at sharing about myself because I've practiced that. If you're not in a circle, you won't know. Like, and that's how I really move. If someone shares something that's deep, I'll share something deep back. I love deep conversations, but I don't think that it should be one-sided. It should be mutual. So if someone is not down to do that, I can't talk to you, because now you're gonna know information about me that I wouldn't have told you otherwise. And that, I feel like if someone has that information, they could either use it against you or have some type of perception of you that you didn't even think you were forming, right? And it should be a genuine conversation. You guys should be able to connect. If we don't connect, that's fine. You won't connect with everybody, right? And that should be something that's comfortable. For example, I like to talk to Uber drivers. Like, I'm in there.
I do talk to my Uber drivers too. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm talking to someone from like Yemen, India. Like, I'm learning about them, and some of them aren't receptive to it, but some of them are, and it's like microwave conversations, right? You're never gonna see them again, likely, right? But it's insightful. They learn about you. You learn about them. And you go about your way. Like, it's like a mutual transaction, and it should feel good to do that. Or, for example, you on a plane, someone sit next to you, chat them up for the plane ride, and that's it. But you guys are just having a good time, laughing, maybe not even learning from each other, but just, laughing at the guy that's wilding in the front, like with his bags and stuff like that, just sharing a connection. And I think it's like really cool.
And you spoke about managing low maintenance relationships and friendships, and how you appreciate your low maintenance friendships. Why do you appreciate your low maintenance friendships?
I think that because they understand the big picture. Like, how can you have time to text and call your friends every minute when you have things to do, right? It's really hard to maintain those friendships that people are like, hey, you haven't texted me in a couple of weeks, you haven't called me in a couple of weeks. Well, I'm getting the job done. What are you doing that you have enough time to be thinking about this? We'll meet up when we meet up, but it's really, hey, you have a goal and I have a goal, and I'm not willing to compromise that for you and your feelings, because you want the best friendship that requires all my attention. So it's really the trade-off. Am I going to be a high maintenance friend, or am I about to elevate my life? Either you understand it, or I would have to leave you behind, because it's like you care more about your feelings rather than my success. You should actually think about how we can succeed together, right? And if you don't understand that the wealth of conversation or the wealth of friendship is shared amongst multiple people, and you're relying on one friend every day, it shouldn't be like that. It should be, you should have a network of people you rely on. And I shouldn't be the number one person you go to. Even if we are best friends, you should understand that I'm at a point in my life where I'm extra busy, but I still make time for you. Like, if I'm in your city, I'm coming to see you. I'll call you, check in on you every week. If I don't call you every day, I'll call you every week. It just should be that rapport, and you shouldn't make someone feel bad because you want more of them. You can actually even say it, like, hey, bro, I miss you. I want to talk to you a bit more. And then I would consider, I'll look into my schedule, make that happen. But without any conversation, and you just feel away, or you want a high maintenance relationship, it will lead to nowhere. You'll likely not be friends anymore. Conversation and communicating is probably the best thing that you can have in a friendship. And if you feel those feelings, you should be able to talk, man to man, or woman to woman, or woman to a man. It should be something that's more common.
Yeah, it's tough because at the end of the day, you hope that people understand that everyone's fighting demons, everyone's trying to get to the next level, and I understand completely what you're saying when it comes to low maintenance
Oh yeah.
friendships. Then how do you deal with dissolving relationships?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that if I'm putting the effort to maintain a relationship and it's not being reciprocated, I will, take my time and let that person go through whatever they're going through, because I understand that people go through seasons, right? And if I reach out again and they're still, not reciprocating, I'll keep trying to reach out and see what's going on, and I just won't leave that person alone. But if it's someone that I feel like isn't good for my life, or we're not at the same space and they're more of an anchor, rather than someone that pushes me, then it becomes more of a distance, right? And those relationships naturally dissolve. Maybe it won't be something I put effort in keeping. It's hey, you're still doing the same thing. You want to hang out, maybe play games and smoke or whatever. That's not what I'm on right now. We trying to build generational wealth, And if you have someone like that doesn't think on that scale, you are who your friends are, right? And you're eventually going to go back to that space.
So how do you balance that when it comes to like relationships, like an actual like girlfriend? Because you do have a girlfriend or significant other.
Nah, actually, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Not no more?
Yeah, I know. It's
What
crazy.
happened?
Hey, man, like it's really. I'm more forward thinking, and I think that I'm always thinking about the next goal. So once you get comfortable in being in a relationship, I think a lot of people forget that. They want to get comfortable, think about kids and getting a home and settling down. I love that, but I also want my partner to be on the grind too, and understand that we can have all of that, but we're still going forward and we're still moving. And I don't want to be comfortable with just what I have now. I want to be able to spread knowledge and wealth to everybody that's in my network, and I didn't feel like we were on the same page with that. So she's great. Was a great partner, like I just think that once you realize you don't have the same things in mind, and she was older than me, so she was thinking about kids before me, and I wasn't really thinking about kids. So it's just a matter of wrong place, wrong timing, and I feel like if I would have met her at a place where I was a bit more comfortable and set up to kind of still do what I want to do and still have kids and build a home, that would have been great. But I'm still at a point where I'm trying to achieve, or at least make the foundation of what I want to achieve.
So you don't think you could have done both at the same time?
It sucks to say, because I feel like not really, not that I'm not a relationship type of person. I am. I just don't want my relationship to hold me back, and that's something that I want my partner to understand. I want an independent entrepreneurial type of partner too.
Did you communicate effectively about that? Like, or do you feel like there's something that you could have done in that process during that relationship that could have made the conversation be better, that you guys going to be on the same page?
Great question. I will say that even though I think that I can communicate effectively, I'm not perfect, right? And I think that a lot of the conversations we had, I did mess up my message to her. I don't think that all of the conversations we had met. I also don't think she heard everything I was saying in the beginning, right? And I don't think I was hearing everything she said in the beginning. When you first meet someone and they're beautiful and you're having a great time, there's that puppy love, you forget all the things that they wanted in their future, and vice versa. So when it comes down to, all right, what are we doing for real? Oh, I said I wanted this. Oh, I don't remember that. I said you said you wanted this, and you don't remember what I said. And it's really coming to that understanding of, hey, do we even want the same things? We were so involved in la la land for the relationship because it felt good, but at basis, do we really want the same thing? And I think understanding that we talked about it a couple times. We wanted to compromise, and eventually we just didn't think that it was, the best situation for either of us if we weren't wanting the same things. She was 31, I'm 28. She wanted to have kids in a couple years. I wasn't at that space to have kids. I feel like maybe later in my career, but at this point, I don't think I could be an effective or loving father at this point, because I want to be very much involved in my kids, because I know that my father wasn't as involved as I wanted him to be, and I don't want to be that parent that's not involved. I want to be there. I want to be at the soccer games. I want to be picking up my kids from school. Even though I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to make time for them. I'm going to say, well, I have a soccer game to go to. Let's push this meeting back, and I want to be that type of dad. I don't want to never see my kids and I'm flying here, I'm flying there, I'm talking to this person. No, I want them to see me. And I could have never been that effective father, and I'm being real with myself because I don't want to disappoint them.
You said something in one of your episodes about balancing individuality in relationships.
Yeah.
While you were dating, or at just where you are now in your current space, how have you went through that process of balancing individuality during your relationships?
That's a good question. I think that when I was talking about it in my podcast, it was something that I had learned because I wasn't balancing the individualism. And it was more, I was feeling like I was crying for help because I told you I'm introverted, right? And I like my space a lot. And in a relationship, that's not always, forwarded as something that's great for a relationship. You have to be together all the time. You have to plan things. You have to start thinking about the future. And I'm here like, well, I need my space. I need to be able to work and think about my future individually, but also we come together and talk about our future together, right? And I want to set up how I'm interested in different things than you are, and you're not letting me express that. You want us to have one type of thinking, and I don't think that's fair, right? I was my person before you met me, and you were your person before I met you. And I think that you can be individual people, have totally, completely different lives, but still make a home. If you're, for example, if you're like a basketball player and she is a musician, you should still have a harmonious life, even though you have totally different interests, right? And you can't force your interest on your partner if they're not interested. And you also can't take time away from your partner that they may need to explore their interests, because they might end up resenting you or may not be fulfilled, right? If your passion is like tennis and you can't play tennis and you can't watch tennis games because your partner is not allowing you to express yourself, you won't be fulfilled. You'll hate it. You'll want to see tennis, but you don't have the time for it because your partner is neglecting you and you're not able to make those games or whatever. But I do think that it's important to keep individualism, because resentment is real, and you never want to resent your partner from keeping you away from what you want to do.
Yeah, relationships are tough, bro. It's very tough. There's so many different nuances and layers to it.
Yeah.
But I guess we could go back to the relationship you have with yourself, because you spoke about a lot of personal different things. Yeah. And you spoke about earlier about journaling, speaking to yourself. What has that process been like? And like, have you been journaling all these emotions and feelings that you had?
I feel like balancing my emotions is something that has been tough. Journaling is something that I've struggled with. I feel like being consistent is the hardest thing in the world. Waking up and writing. I also think that people that have routine have it all wrong when they start a routine. It should be developing habits, and eventually you'll find a routine for yourself. People like say, wake up early, take a cold shower, do this, and have a structured life. I think that works for them, but does it work for you? Does it work for your lifestyle? They may have a position where they wake up at 6 a.m. and then they have the whole morning, and then their afternoon is clear, and they can do whatever they want. You may work 9 to 5, and you don't have that luxury, right? So it's really figuring out a routine that works for you. And I think that trying to follow that playbook or that step-by-step foundation that people were setting of how to journal wasn't working for me. So I started journaling in the morning. Took a walk. Maybe I'll take a walk in the afternoon and then go journal. I find the times where I'm actually feeling intense feelings to go journal, not just because I want to journal, right? I want to talk to myself. It's really talking to yourself. You're writing a story about yourself, and you're having a conversation, and it's like, wow, like I feel this way, and you read it back to yourself, and it's like, whoa, like I didn't even know I was going through this, and your subconscious is writing it down for you, and it helps you reflect. It's like, wow, how can I do this better than the next day, or how can I communicate this better to the person that I'm either mad at or sad about, or whatever the case may be. It really is helpful to expand on your thinking and really regulate your emotions.
I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, I've journaled. I went through this my second journal now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
It's been interesting. I was thinking about one day putting it out and publishing it, but I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that.
Do it. Do it. I mean, I feel like that's how people write their first book. Like when you look at like famous authors, they'll find different journals in their trunk or whatever, and they finally write a book. So definitely do it.
Your dad once said to be the best or be among the best.
Wow, you did your research.
I've been working on a different type of interviewing bag lately. But yeah, how do you feel about that? And do you still feel like that holds true?
I feel like he really put that into my brain, and why I think I held that so close to my brain is because I didn't have a lot of time with him. So the time that I did have with him, that conversation and what he was saying was very valuable to me. So for him to say that, and he was actually like top of his class, and he was a scientist, made me want to become a scientist. I wanted to become top of my class, almost to impress him, right? So when he said that to me, I thought, oh, that must be the key. Be the best or be with the best. And I'm always finding that to be true. I'm always in rooms where people are better than me. I want to be in a place where I can be better than them, and then keep going up and finding a different room that people are better than me. And it's obviously not a competition, but it's more of an enrichment for yourself, self-improvement, self-development. And when you reach the levels you want to get to, then you kind of stop that process and you pass it down to your kids or maybe whoever you mentor. So I think that being the best, or trying to be the best, and being around the best is probably the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. I'm not gonna lie to you, because it keeps me going. It reminds me why I mentioned what I think about, and that's literally why I do what I do. Because I want to be the best. I want to be able to pass it down, but I feel like being true to myself was really to impress my father, and that's something that's deep rooted. And I found that out in therapy, but I'm more using it as a tool now to elevate my life, rather than something that is more traumatic, right? And they always say that trauma usually shows up in your life somehow, but I feel like I'm transforming that trauma into something that's positive, and that really leans back into Stoicism, how you regulate your emotions, that sadness or however you feel about it, and translating that into positive or righteous energy.
Okay. So my question before my final question is, how do you get into the rooms where people are better than you?
Oof, it's really tough, because people that are better than you want to hang out with you. Like, they're like, why? What are you doing here? Why would I spend my time with you? I can't. You can't offer me anything, right? So it's really networking. Knowing someone within that room and having someone that can vouch for you, right? And if they know that this person has value and this person is respected, and they're bringing you along, that must mean that that person holds you at the same accord, so they may feel like you are that same person. So what I really mean is, like, say if you're a respected doctor and you want to get into a room full of other respected doctors, but you are just now starting off in your career, if he brings you along, they're going to think that you must have great skills, or you must be of value because you're with him, and he's probably more respected than most of the people in the room, right? So if you can find someone like that, it's helpful. But you have to go to networking events to be able to even do that. You have to grind. It's not going to be that first event that you're going to find that person, but you have to kind of find that person that will take you along to the next networking event, and then that can continue that cycle until you get to where you want to be. Also, you got to start reaching out to people. You never know who wants to give back, right? Like me myself, I'm a mentor to undergrad students, and I love it. I want to give back because I didn't have anyone to tell me how to get through undergrad, right? And I just had to figure it out. But I want to help people that are having the same problem, and I don't want them to feel the same way I did. You never know who you might find like that. A lot of people like to pay their dues. So if you find someone that wants to pay their dues through you, that's a great way to segue into different rooms. That's a great way to elevate yourself. And it's hard to find. I'm not gonna lie. And a lot of people won't want to help you, but as I mentioned earlier, you have to provide them value. Why should I let you in this room? Why should I look over your resume for you? Like, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not learning from this. It has to be from someone that genuinely wants to help you. So when you find those genuine people, keep them tight, but also keep up with them, because if they forget you or if they feel like you're distant, they will not help you. They may feel like, oh, you just want them to do something. They may feel used, right? Keeping that network and making people feel like you're actually friends, because you that's the aim. You're trying to build those lifelong friendships, right? And also providing them value, and they can provide you value. You never want to make them feel like you're just using them. So it just that trading aspect is continuous,
The Reflects podcast.
Yes, sir.
What is that about? When is that dropping? And what are you going to reflect about on that podcast?
So the Reflex podcast. So it's not Reflex like RELAX. It's Reflex as in REFLECTS. And I really want to use this platform of podcasting to reflect on oneself. But I want to take a little spin on it. I want to use science and psychology. So in my undergrad, I studied that. I studied behavioral health and everything in my biology degree. But it's always been a passion about learning about people. I like to talk to people. I want to learn more about what makes people decide on things or make people behave in a certain way. And I think that with this podcast, I can get deeper in that. So what I really want to do is read scientific papers, but also have guests on that have different mindsets on decision-making, perception, and behavior. And I want to ask people, why they may act the way they do, why they have this certain routine, why they, how they achieve their goals, and what mindset that they necessarily need to get there. But also just dive into the science, so what mechanisms in your body help you stay motivated? Is it, serotonin? Is it other endorphins in your body? Or what really triggers that motivation? Or say, for example, if you feel sad and then now you're self-sabotaging, what happens psychologically, or what, connects to that for you to feel that way, or for you to go down that path. So bringing different perspectives and understand the science behind it, but also keeping it lighthearted and fun.
That's dope. We're excited for it, bro. I'm not gonna lie, and I feel like this podcast is gonna definitely give people room to understand why your podcast is so needed. The way your mind works is very, very important, and I feel like we see your growth. Like, I haven't seen you in years, and I was blown away because I know you've done the work to get to this point. I know it wasn't easy.
I appreciate that.
Is there anything else you want to talk to the people about, or anything that you want to highlight, or if you got any questions for me?
Yeah, man. I haven't seen you in 7 years, and I feel like you've elevated as well, and you've been consistent on your podcast. One question I would ask for you is, how do you stay consistent, and how do you, keep that motivation and that grind going?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I would say I'm passionate about interviewing people and telling stories.
Yeah.
I would say that I haven't really been super consistent as much as I want. Mm-hmm. And what I would do is I would operate sometimes in spurts where I'll interview like a bunch of people in a short period of time and then release in a certain order.
Yeah.
I have a lot of episodes I haven't put out.
Yeah.
But it's like something that I'll say, like, you just have to really do what you've already been doing, networking, seeing people who are dope, talking to people, and not being afraid to be like, hey, I would love to get you on my podcast, on my platform.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm not making any money off my platform, but I know one day it'll be something so big and so impactful that it may be it'll be doing things that's more than money, worth more than money.
Absolutely.
So I would say the secret to consistency is just to try your best to be as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
The secret to putting out podcasts that get reach, I would say, is obviously the visuals. I haven't done the visuals, and that's why I feel like my podcast is still like a if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not even mad at that because I know for me, I really value getting the stories.
Yeah.
So one day someone's gonna come back and reflect on where they were or where they've been, and they're gonna look back and be like, wow, I did this podcast so and so years ago.
Yeah.
And that was the first podcast I ever did. From a lot of people, I'm like their first podcast ever. And that one day they can really take that content and do something with it.
Yeah.
And I could just be honest and say like, yo, we shared that moment together.
Yeah, and you also build a network too. People, you probably keep up with all those people that you've interviewed, so they probably will want to come back when you have that video up and everything, and then it'll pop. A lot this digital age, everybody wants to see something online. So I feel like you have a lot of great content out there. I feel like if you bring people back, you'll have no problem popping. I promise you.
I appreciate you, bro.
Of course.
If people want to follow you, connect with you, where can they go to do so?
All right, so I have an Instagram, and it's called the Reflex Podcast. So that's TheReflects podcast. You can follow me on Instagram. I'll be releasing content shortly in probably early September. So look out for that. Spotify and Apple Podcasts haven't been set up because I haven't released any episodes, but definitely look out for those on my Instagram page. I'll be releasing content and announcements later. So definitely look out for that. Again, it's a Reflex Podcast. It's TheReflects podcast.
Very dope. All right, like I said, y'all been tuning in to Talking Cheap podcast. Thank you to my brother for typing in. Absolutely. And like I said, make sure y'all follow the brand at Talk Ain't Cheap Network on Instagram, and follow the Immaculate Love Show. We drop a new episode every Sunday. It's been going crazy. We are talking about the dating calms of the 21st century. So if you got some relationship issues, or if you're just trying to figure out if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, or if your kink is somebody else's kink, or whatever people got going on these days, or if you celibate like me, it's okay. Like, that's a place where we talk about navigating dating and relationships in the 21st century. All right. And like I said, y'all also going to tap in with Immaculate Scent, the candles. Yeah, we're going to be releasing a whole lot of candles for the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to get crazy with that. But like I said, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Talk Ain't Cheap. And y'all know the slogan is not that deep. It's a vibe.